Hi, and welcome to episode 144 of the Heartland Knits podcast. My name is Vicki, but you can find me as Heartland Knits on Ravelry and Instagram. And today is Sunday, May 29th, 2016. I have kind of a quick little podcast for you today. I have a work in progress that's nearly finished. Hoping it's finished soon. Some spinning this week, which you haven't seen that from me for a while, and a little garden tour. So let's start out with what's been on my needles, and it's basically the same thing that I showed the last episode, episode 143, which I guess I'll do this now. I uploaded the episode 142, which was from the 1st of May. I uploaded that to YouTube, but I did it as an unlisted video because I talked in there kind of at length about part of my cancer journey, and I wanted to keep that a little bit private, just kind of between you and I. And I know on YouTube the videos can just anybody can find them, or sometimes they just kind of pop in at the end of like some other kind of video, and I just felt it was a little more public than I wanted kind of that information to be. So there is a link to watch that video on the Ravelry group, which is Friends of Heartland Knits. So I'm not sure if that video went out to YouTube subscribers or not, but anyway, that's where the link to that one is. And there is a fair amount of knitting in that episode. I talked at length kind of about the little pink sweater, but anyway, this episode, I have been working all week on this shawl, the cover shawl, the Kishy shawl from the Ultimate Tule book. It's a design by Denise Bell, and I am nearly finished. I'm working on the edging. So this is where it is now, and I have this much left on the needles to do. I'm doing a kind of this applied edging. This has been a really fun project to knit. I've enjoyed it a lot. It's got different stitch patterns, so you don't kind of get bored with one, but I love how she has sort of related one to the other. It starts out with this kind of a woven stitch, which is, a little more solid area. It's not so lacy. And then it goes into this, and she calls it cod and something stitch, but the whole shawl is kind of inspired by the Kishy baskets that the Shetland Islanders used for fishing. And so this little pattern has kind of lace fish like swimming in it. So that has much more kind of open work lace, but then a little bit of solid areas. And then the edging that she has chosen is this one, which has, they're almost like little honeycombs. They're what I know from knitting Niebling shawls, that's what's called hex mesh, because he used kind of this as a background effect on many of his shawls, and he'd have like a big flowery pattern, and this would be the kind of the background stitch. But it's still got the little bit of solid. So I feel like the stitch patterns relate to each other, and they relate to each other more than like some kind of sampler shawls that just kind of throw stitch patterns together. It feels like it's cohesive, and so it's done as the edging is done as an applied edging. So I have this many more. The hex mesh does take a little bit longer to work than just doing kind of like a regular eyelet and then a, you know, purlback row. But I'm hoping to finish this by tomorrow night, which it doesn't look like much, but that's probably, let's see, I don't even know how many let's see, 2, 4, 6, 8. So that will be what, 14 more repeats. So that'll be 7 a day, because I would really like to have it finished before I go to ZK, which means it will have to be finished by tomorrow night so I can lay it out to block so it has one whole day to block, because I'll be leaving for that on Thursday. This is the amount of yarn that I have left, and it's, you know, dwindling down there. This is my second skein of Malabrigo lace. It's dwindling down, but I checked the weight when I started the edging, and then I checked it at the halfway point because it has a clear center spine, and I will probably end up with 10 or 11 grams of yarn left. So I'm not kind of worried about running out of yarn, which is nice. I kind of took a chance using this yarn. It is Malabrigo lace, and it has 470 yards. So that makes the 2 skeins, what, 8 or 940. And the yarn that she used in the pattern has like 1,000 yards. So I was slightly short of yardage than called for. And remember, there's no gauge on this pattern. So, but I figure, you know, most designers pad their yardage like by around 10%. You know, they give a little bit of extra. So I was hoping I would come out okay. I had never used this yarn before. It's so super soft. And especially when I was starting out and doing this kind of more solid area, I was thinking I would have, you know, normally gone up a needle size because I was worried it's so soft. I don't think it's going to hold a block really well. And with yarns like that, you know, like superwash yarns, I like to use a needle size kind of bigger, you know, bigger than normal, because I don't count on blocking to open it up. I want to use a bigger needle, so it's going to start out being a little more open. But because I was kind of shy on yardage, I was a little afraid to do that. So I worked this on size 4 needles, 3.5 millimeter, which is what she called for in the pattern. But the yarn that both the yarns that she used, her lace yarn and the Jameson yarn, are much thinner in size than this, which was another reason why I thought, well, maybe I should, you know, go up a size. So it's going to be, you know, this is the size unblocked, so it is going to increase in size, though I don't know if it's going to be quite this long, which is okay, because I mean that like reaches like almost, like, I guess it does reach down to her knees at the center back there, so I don't think it's going to be quite that long. So what to make myself feel better, because I just, you know, was not sure at all, you know, how this was going to react. I knew a friend of mine, when this yarn had first come out, she made a couple of shawls, and she had them on her Ravelry page, so I looked up to see what size she used, thinking that if Mel used that size, it's probably the right size, and it worked out for her. She is one of the best knitters that I know, and she used a size 4 for the lace shawls that she used, worked with it. And I know I've seen her knitting in person, so we both have the same kind of tension. You know, she doesn't knit like a lot looser kind of than I do. So I'm glad I'm not going to run out of yarn, and it's just kind of getting those last repeats done. So that'll mean about, you know, 8 repeats each day. We'll see. I thought about when I got to like the middle and I knew I would have enough yarn, thought about just leaving it and then you know, taking it to ZK and finishing it up there. But if I have it finished and blocked, I could like wear it. In Off the Needles, I don't have anything newly off the needles, but I just realized that I never showed you the actual finished bohus, the blue flower bohus. I put it away already, so I did take a picture of it and I had posted it on Instagram, so I'm going to put that in here. So hopefully that, just so that you can see the finish, the edge treatment that I did. I loved it so much. It's kind of lacy and then it goes into a twisted rib, and then I did the picot bind off, you know, over the 1x1 twisted rib. And I don't know why I've never done, I don't think I have, a picot bind off over kind of 1x1 rib. It's so pretty and it's stretchy. I'm going to be doing that again for sure. But anyway, so that shows that I did finish that one. In spinning, I have a new spinning project. For summer, I usually like to have a spindle project that kind of will carry me through the summer. And I started one last weekend because I was helping out at the garden club. It has a plant sale. It's called the Festival of Spring. That is the plant sale at the Payne Museum, which I've talked about before. And they have a kind of a little art fair that has grown up around it that is sort of kind of garden art related more. I mean, they had a few jewelry people too, but it's more garden art kind of stuff. And then the garden club has a sale that they sell kind of plants that were divided out of the gardens, and they're priced really inexpensively, and they're, you know, so anyway, I helped out at that, and I didn't know kind of how busy it was going to be. I was there like first thing in the morning, and so I thought about, well, I could have taken like a sock along, but I have a half a sock for the rest of the year, and I had planned on taking that to ZK, because remember, I'm doing like a moratorium on socks for the year because I have too many to fit in my sock drawer, and I had one pair started, and so I can finish those, but I can't start any new ones. And I had intended on taking the little bit of a sock I have with me to ZK's in case, you know, I can take it along. It's a small thing, and I can, you know, take it if we're, you know, going to eat somewhere or something. So I thought, well, instead of taking a sock to knit on, and I didn't want to take the shawl or, you know, another project that's bigger, I could take a spindle project because I knew I wanted to get one started for the summer anyway. So that's what I did, and I started. It's a little sad. It's my last Crown Mountain Farms Superwash Merino. It's the last bump that I had. And the color is called Under the Boardwalk, which looks like this. And this is like one end of it. These came in 8-ounce bumps. And one end was always kind of a lighter color. And then the other end was like more like darker. Well, this has both of it in it, but you know, like more saturated. And you know, I've spun a couple of them. A couple of them I wasn't quite sure how to deal with kind of that issue, and I didn't sort of like what happened. And I split one bump with a friend, and that one I wasn't like happy with it. So I ended up writing and asking Mel, again, this is the Mel show, because she's one of the best knitters I know, and she's one of the best spinners and spindlers that I know. And her spinning pictures on Instagram are just phenomenal. But I asked, you know, how she dealt with it, and so what she did what I did was I stripped it down into like thinner pieces, and then I broke the pieces into kind of like lengths, and then I wound them back up on a ball, kind of alternating like darkers and lighter ones, and kind of ones in the middle, and so I am to sort of mix it all up. And I am spindling this on my little Golden Tsunami, and so that's what that looks like. It's a kind of a thin little single. I'm planning a 3-ply, and I don't know what I'll do with it. Maybe gloves, or I don't know. But anyway, and this is what I do for it, because I'm keeping this in a basket, and I have done this with this spindle before, and it kind of gets through the little like slats in the basket and kind of wrecks up, how the hook is done. And so I have just this little piece of clear tubing that I fit over the hook, and that keeps the hook kind of safe when it's in the basket, and then I can just put it in there, because it like fits like all the way in there. So I plan on taking that to ZK also, and the little sock, and I will take my black bows, because work needs to happen on that. It's been nice, and I have knit on this out on the porch instead of the bows, but I kind of really wanted to get this done. So, and then this morning I took a little tour of the garden and made a little video, so I'm going to throw that in here. And welcome to the garden 2016. Let me take you for a little tour. I'm going to go around the back because it looks a little better. So we have this great big peony just about to pop open. And then right in the front is one of the new roses. That is Calypso. It's an Easy Elegance rose. And then behind, way in the back, is my Kiss Me rose, which is another Easy Elegance. This came in bud, and it bloomed already, so the pot was only filled about half full, so I wanted it to grow a lot of roots, so I cut it way back. But it's already starting to put out some new little growth there, so that's nice. Right next to that is one of the new David Austin roses, and this is Golden Celebration. And then in front of that is another of the Austins, and that's Boscobel. And way in the front is a tiny little miniature, kind of no-name grocery store rescue. But it's a really pretty kind of orchid pink color. And then another orchid pink is this one, which is Orchid Romance. It still it's been blooming. It came in bud, and it's been blooming. The flowers are fairly small, and they're blowing out quite quickly, but it's pretty. And then in front of that, which is going to be kind of hard to see, is the Peach Drift, and the Sweet Drift is right next to that, and I have a little story I'll tell you later about that. This is another Austin. It's Munstead Wood, and I wish you could have, I wish I had taken pictures of them when I first planted them, because they were basically just little sticks with tiny little kind of buds, growth breaking through the cane. So all these leaves are new. And then this is the Austin that I had for a long time, for several years, but it's never done as well as it did this year. And this is Evelyn, and she's starting to get buds there, but she's quite big. Let's see if I can get another shot of her. I think she's getting much more sun now that the neighbor's fence is down. Right next to her is the Pretty in Pink, which this bud looks decidedly more pink than this one. This is the first flower that opened. It's very pretty, but it's kind of white with pink edges. And like this bud. So I don't know if that was just a new rose and the first buds aren't kind of true, but I have a trellis for that. And then that is my Milwaukee Calatrava. And the blue cups, I'll tell you about those later too. In front of that are 3 little roses, and the 2 on the right side they're just grocery store rescues. I got them in the winter, the last couple of winters, and planted them out here, and they've come back and they're really doing well this year. And then that third one is one that I got over this last winter, and when I first put it out, the leaves got a little sunburned, but it's coming back nicely. So I'm kind of just naming off the roses, but there have been a few other little plants. I have a Jean Davis lavender there, and some big pink delphiniums, which are growing nicely, and a foxglove next to those. And then I have another Austin. This is Olivia Rose Austin, and she's actually got a little bud or 2. Next to her is the one that I love from last year, the Delish, looking nice. And then in front of that is Apricot Drift. It's been raining here for the last week, and we got 3 inches according to my little rain gauge last week, and last night it just poured again, so they're all a little wet. And then back here is one, it's still in a pot, hasn't been planted, but this is Julia Child. It's a really pretty butter yellow, and I bought this. I couldn't refuse it, and also because this was my first Kiss Me. It had come back. This cane was still alive at the beginning of the spring, and it just died away. So I'm not sure that I will put the Julia here because she's not as tall as her neighbors, but I just put it here so it would get out in the sun and the rain and everything. And right next to her is one of the other Austins, and it's like higher than my knee already. And this is Crown Princess Margareta. And then the last couple roses, there's a big lady's mantle there, some phlox, and this is the Sunrise Sunset, which I'm not sure was marked correctly, because it doesn't look like any of the Sunrise Sunsets that I see online. It's just kind of floppy, and there's a new little miniature next to that. But I might be taking this, the Sunrise Sunset out and putting it somewhere else, and putting the Julia Child there. There's a couple other places I'm thinking of putting Julia too, but I don't know. I'm not real thrilled with whatever. If that is Sunrise Sunset, I'm just not really thrilled with it. It's kind of very, very floppy, and I tried to, get it to grow, like peg it so that it would be a little more upright, and that's not really working. And then right at the end is another great big peony. So, and then in the herb garden this year, I've got that all planted. It's also edged with alyssum. And I got some lady's mantle. In the back is just some spider plants. And then I have a couple of scented geraniums in pots. I may take those out and put that Julia Child rose there. It just seems a little appropriate to have Julia over in the herb garden. But I don't know. There's a couple other choices. Some lemon balm and sage from last year.
just thymes and basils and parsley and chervil. Where that tarragon is there, I might move that and put the Julia there, because I want it somewhere fairly close to the front so that I can smell her blossoms. She's very, very fragrant. This is the music box rose, which is hanging its head this morning, but it's really pretty, kind of a pale yellow, and then some of them, it's all dirty, kind of are like tinged with pink. So I have some hollyhocks for in the back, and then these are all basils, different basils. I have a Munstead lavender over here, a little red rose that's been there forever. It's a little miniature, and yeah, I'm kind of happy. That big plant there is a what is it? A mallow, a pink mallow plant. So over here is the cutting garden and kind of salad garden. I have nasturtiums kind of right along the front, and then I have my lettuce in a cage to keep the bunnies from it, and there's buttercrunch, and then just some little like muscloon type seed, and then red onions that I'll use for kind of green onions, and I have a little viola and some marigolds to use for petals, the salad. And then in the back I have cosmos, zinnia, snapdragon, and some little bachelor button seeds, which half of the row, they was all coming up really well, and half of the row got attacked by slugs because it's rains every night, so it's wet, and they just come in, and all of those were planted from seed except for the snaps. Those were little seedlings. So I planted a few more of the bachelor buttons. And then coming down to this garden, it's starting to sprinkle a little. I have some irises just about ready to bloom, and I planted these last year. They were Little Mom's, one of her favorite flowers, and then these tall purple ones, I don't know where they came from, if they were birds dropped them or what, because they were never here before. So they should be blooming when I'm at ZK. And then I have kind of a mixture of pinks and white petunias along the edge, and there's some more seeds there, and those are the blue bachelor buttons and the green envy, kind of chartreusey green zinnias. I thought they would look pretty together, and this big flower pinwheel to keep the birds away from the seeds. And then there's a little dianthus, and these are all little kind of annual dianthus. The rest of what's behind the iris are all phlox that have been there for many years. And then down in there is some morning glories who are getting quite high on that trellis already. I have some cosmos, more foxgloves, and this is the Sunsprite rose. It's a yellow rose from last year. When it first started growing, it got eaten by the bunny, so it's a little farther behind, but it looks nice and healthy, so I'm glad about that. Forget-me-nots in front of that, and then there are some snaps. I think those are yellow, and behind that are mostly daisies and some bee balm, and way in the back there's some weeds. And then there's this little yellow rose, which always reminds me of my little mom, because she loved like yellow flowers in the garden, and these daisies just spoke to me. And then this is the Dick Clark rose. It's kind of like one giant shoot, And then this part of it, the smaller part, was eaten back, which is why I put the little pinwheel there to try to keep the bunnies away from them. And so I don't know. And then there's some delphiniums behind there and more phlox. And then there's an empty spot where I am a room for more roses. I could put the Julia Child over here, but I'm also thinking I'm going to go to a little place in Winona next week when I go to ZK. They have a really sweet little nursery, and I quite like the idea of having a rose in the garden from Little Mom's hometown. So I kind of kept that open, but this gigantic mum, and then there were bleeding hearts, and that's about it. So yeah.
So the blue cups are to hopefully organically eliminate one of the pests that can sometimes happen on roses called thrips. And I read about this online. I don't want to spray in my garden at all. And I know that means that the leaves won't be perfect, but I do want to have flowers. And sometimes with thrips and some other kind of pests, they attack the buds and then you don't get flowers. So I read where you can get these blue cups. They're just like, blue plastic cups, and spray them or coat them with oil. I just used Pam because that's what I had. It's probably not the most long lasting. I need to go out and do it again because we've had a ton of rain every day. It rains, heavy rain. We had 3 inches last week, and then we got a bunch last night, and I have a little rain gauge in the garden and I haven't checked that yet. So, but some people use motor oil. Well, I didn't have motor oil, so I just used Pam, and it is supposed to, like if they're like, I guess, flying around, they will stick to that. I don't know if I have thrips. I know that I don't want them, so I put them out. A lot of the roses, you saw were blooming already because they came in bud when I bought them, and then there's a lot that are kind of just forming their buds. So I guess that's all there is for today. This week, I am going to be going to ZK, the Zombie Knitpocalypse. I'm leaving Wednesday, and I'm going to leave really early Wednesday and then go up to Minneapolis and stop at Fluevog and Nordstrom's. And I did get shoes, but I think I might be exchanging them. They're really cool, and I love them. I just don't know if I have the right attitude to actually wear them. So anyway, I'm taking them with me, and we'll see if I, see different ones that I need more. But so I hope I see you at ZK. If you are coming to ZK, please say hi to me if you see me. Don't be shocked. I will likely be wearing a dress. Just don't let it get to you. Yeah, so I guess that's it. And I will probably do a report next week on all the activities at ZK. And like I said, I don't know that I'm going to be buying much yarn, but I am going to go to Ginny's, which is their fabric store, button store, and hopefully get fabric. So I have not sewn at all since I finished the pink dress, like nothing at all. So I do want to get kind of back to it and see how it goes. So until I see you next week, from my heart to yours, happy knitting.